I think I took.
That's okay. All right.
Welcome in, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to those who are joining us remotely this morning. Can everyone hear okay? Yeah? Let's begin as we do each week. Page 141 in our Siddur.
משכנותיך ישראל, משכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו אוהליך, אוהליך יעקב, מה טובו אוהליך, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך, משכנותיך ישראל, משכנותיך ישראל.
Last line 141. Vani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chasdecha aneni be'emet yishecha.
Page 153.
Our morning blessings. Accustomed to stand here for those who are comfortable to do so.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu cha'olamim hama'avir shena me'enai u'nogma me'afafai.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu cha'olamim hanoten l'sachvivin alavchin ben yom uven laela.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu cha'olamim roka aretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu cha'olamim pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu cha'olamim malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu cha'olamim matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu cha'olamim zokef kefufim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu cha'olamim hamechin b'tzadei gaveh. אתה אדוני אלוהינו לעולמים שעשה לי כל צורכי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו לעולמים עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו לעולמים עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו לעולמים שעשני בצומו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו לעולמים שעשני בת חורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו לעולמים שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו לעולמים הנותן ליעל כוח. We continue from our seats, page 163. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר יצר את האדם בחוכמה. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר מפליא לעשות. 165. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא. 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 כל זמן שהנשמה בקרבי מודה אני לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני אשר בידו נפש כל חי ורוח כל בשר. Let's turn ahead to page 177. We'd like to chant together the English version that we have been chanting. We'll ask everyone together in the community to respond to each verse with the words Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, affirming that this one source of creation is that one who spoke the world into being. Baruch Shemo. Baruch Shemo. Baruch Shemo. Baruch Shemo. Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one forever creating. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one speaking and acting. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Blessed is the one separating and sustaining. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Shemo. Blessed is the one whose compassion gives life. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. Page 209. Oh. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדיך ואמונתך בלילות, אב לעשור ועלה נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור, עלי עשור ועלה נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועליך, מעשה ידיך ענני, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. צדיק אתה מה יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות עלינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים רעננו יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי לא עוולתה בו. Now 227, finding our way to
מן השמיים, הללו במרומים, הללו כל מלאכה, הללו כל צבאה, הללו שמש וירח, הללו כל כוכבי אור, הללו שמי השמיים והמים, אשר מעל השמיים, יהללו את שם אדוני, כי הוא ציווה ונבהרו, ויעמידם ויעלה עולם, חוק נתן ולא יעבור, יהללו את שם אדוני, כי הוא ציווה ונבהרו, ויעמידם ועד לעולם, חוק נתן ולא יעבור.
turn over now together to page 231. And find our way to our last verse of the Psalms. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Hallelujah. Kol haneshama
Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Tehalleluya. Hallelujah.
Kol
Neshama tehalleluya. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Hallelujah. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Kol haneshama tehalleluya. Hallelujah.
Kol haneshama
Haneshama
tehalleluya.
tehalleluya. Tehalleluya. Hallelujah.
Allow ourselves just a moment to breathe deeply, to remember to connect our breath to the source of all breath. And then now to carry on with our verses of praise on page 241.
Shochenad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranu tzadikim b'Adonai lisharim navat tehillah b'fi sharim tidromam uvdivrei tzadikim tidbarach uvilshon chasidim tidkadesh ובקרב קדושים תתהלה, ובמחלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. בריני בישובך מלכינו אלוהינו אלוהינו ואמותינו, להודות להלל, לשבח, לפאר, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, כי לך אלוהינו ואמותינו שיושבך. עלה וזמרה עוז וממשלה, נצח גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות, מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אדוני אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודאות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אל Chei ha'olamim, page 245. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah, Yamad yivrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chaychon v'yom echon v'chayeducho beit Yisrael, Bagalav izman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabah mevarach le'olam u'mehamaya. Yitbarach yishtabach yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudish abrichu. Eila min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damin ran v'yama v'imruhu amen. Page 247. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or uvorech choshech. Oseh shalom uvorech et hakol. Page 253. Yai dai 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 ya dai 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 ya dai 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 ya dai 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 ya dai dai ya dai 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 El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim baruch u'vorach befi kol neshama godlo v'tuvo malei olam. Da'at udvuna sovevim oto hamidgael chayot hakodesh v'netar bechavot al hamikava zichut u'mishol lifnei chiso chesed v'rachamim lifnei kevodo tovim me'orot shebara Eloheinu yitzaram bedan bevina uv'haskel koach u'gvura natan bahem להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים גול, נאה זיוון בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים ברועם, עושים בהם הרצון קונם, בהר וכבוד, נותנים לשמות, סולה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרחו, רעד והתקין סורת הלבנה, שבעת נותנים לו, כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואופנים, שרפים ואופנים בחיות הקודש, יאי די די, יאי די די די, יאי די 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 די. Yai la la, ya da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ba da 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 da, ya da 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 da, da 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 da.
Page 269.
Or chadash al Zion tahir, v'nizkei chulanu bimherav leoro, Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hameorot.
Let's bridge our prayers now from those opening verses in praise of creation now to find our way to the morning Shema. We've begun this past week a communal opportunity to dig into learning the Shema together, learning all the different parts of the Shema. And this morning, the Torah reading, Parashat Ekev, is the source for that middle paragraph of the Shema. And so I just want to ask for us to turn there together for a moment before we go into the prayer of it, the recitation of it. Page 283. This passage that comes from this week's Torah reading this week's parasha, V'haya im Shamoa, is where the children of Israel are told in their wanderings to maintain a relationship with heaven. Because in contrast to Egypt, where the irrigation comes from the Nile, you have to look down to see if your crops are going to make it. In the land of Israel, you have to look up. You have to see if the rains are going to come on time, in their time, in the right amount. And the way we on the planet contribute to that relationship is by our righteous action. That's what the Torah tells us. If we behave properly, if we treat each other with kindness, if we maintain our commitment to a life of mitzvah, then we actually can have an impact on the way the planet will respond. Now you'll notice in our Siddur, if you keep your finger on 283 for a minute and turn back to 279, you'll see that it says biblical selection 1 and 2. Biblical selection 1 was the Reconstructionist editor's preference from past generations, choosing a different part of the Torah to lift up in the middle of the Shema, one that wasn't so based on this cause and effect theology. But by the time this Kol HaNeshama was published, the movement had evolved and said, actually, given what's going on in the planet right now, it does well for us to remind ourselves of our part of the relationship. So when we come to this part this morning, it's traditional to chant it or to recite it, to say it close to our hearts quietly. You can choose for yourself which one is your preference, but I wanted especially to point out this morning that the second selection is the one that is traditional and it comes from our Torah reading today. Now, if I ask you to turn back with me to page 275, to those verses that introduce the Shema. And we'll chant some verses in English that are based on these Hebrew lines. Open up our eyes. Sorry. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We'll go through that again. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live.
Teach us how to
fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace.
Gather us in
as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. We will know that you are one. Holding our tzitziot all together, we may choose to close our eyes, to turn the gaze inward, and then put our voices together to affirm. Shema Yisrael, Adonai say again. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shem kavod malchuto le'olam va'ed. We'll follow now the English V'ahavta. And you must love the one, your God, with your whole heart, with every breath, and with all you have. And these words which I command you on this day, now take to heart, now take to heart, and you will teach them intently to your children. You shall speak them when you sit in your house, when you walk upon the road, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up, and you shall bind them as a sign upon your hand. Keep them visible before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God. Quiet time now for us to pray these middle paragraphs and then join together for the paragraph of the fringes. Let's join together, page 285. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber b'nei Yisrael ve'amarta lehem, v'asu lahem tzitzit al kanfei bigdeihem v'dotam, v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf b'til techelet, ve'aya lachem letzitzit uritem oto, zachartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם, Turn ahead now to page 291, the redemption song that will lead us into the Amidah.
תהילות ליל עליון ברוך ומבורך ושמרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף אליהם שירה חדשה שבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמלכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ופדחנו ממך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני God Israel. Page 295. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Sarah Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Rivka Elohei Yaakov Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחייך כל חיים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות כל חי, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיין כל חי. Page 303. נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום. ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנסים לעומת שרפים לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני למקומו. במקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי תמלוך בציון. בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים, ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please continue with your own prayers or meditations for the verses on the following lines, pages.
יהיו לרצון אמרי יהיו לרצון אמרי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי יהיו לרצון אמרי יהיו לרצון אמרי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי עושה שלום במרומה עושה שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל אל יושבי תבל ועושה שלום במרומה עושה שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל אל יושבי תבל ואמרו ואמרו אמן. Before we move on with our Torah service, with some wonderful blessings we have to share this morning, I want to just invite us to stay here in the Amidah. There's a custom to repeat the whole Amidah, of course, which we generally don't follow here, but allow ourselves the opportunity to dip back into pieces of it that we want to hold on to. Asking us to turn back to page 309. Which is that middle part of the Amidah that says, somehow we have to summon joy on Shabbat. By practicing Shabbat, by being together, by taking time for loved ones, by looking out into the world and noticing the rhythms of nature. All those different ways we have of pausing and noticing and breathing deeply is one of the ways we practice joy. So let's chant together. מלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג. העם מקדש שבי, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו. העם מקדש שבי, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך, מטובך. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג. במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג. להשאיר
רצית בו וקידשתו, והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי עונג.
חמדת ימים אותו
קראת זכר מעשה בראשית, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר מעשה בראשית. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, שומרי שבת, וקוראי
ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Make our transition now to the Torah service, first with the full Kaddish, page 381. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי שמי רבה, ועלמדי ורכירותי והמליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיידכו בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יש מרבה מבורך לעולם ועמי עמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותון ובאותהון בכל בית ישראל, קודם עוון וישמעיה ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Amen. Let's turn now to our Torah service. It's a pleasure to invite forward Joan Kahn and Jeff Rubin for the honor of opening the Ark and bringing the Torah into the community, page 383.
אין כמוך אלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך, מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אב הרחמים היטיבה בצונך את ציון. תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבנה חומות ירושלים, כי בכל לבד בטחנו, מלך אל רם ונישא, אדון עולמים. ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה, קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך, כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. בענר החץ ולשמי קדישה יקירה, אנא אמר תושבחן. בענר החץ, בענר החץ ולשמי קדישה יקירה, אנא אמר תושבחן. יהי רבה קודמה, דתפתח ליבי באורייתא, ותשלים משאלים דליבי, בליבה דכל עמך ישראל, לטבול חיים ולשלום. Amen. Page 393. Shema, call and response. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shmo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shmo.
Gadlul Adonai iti, uneromelo Shemo Yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'hagevura, ve'anetzach ve'hahod, ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, lechol lerosh romemu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu lahadom raglav kadosh. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Hachavu leharkocho. Ve'oraita kucha brichu chadu, Israel ve'oraita kucha. Torah, 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 Hallelujah.
on the chairs. Please be seated. Please join me in sharing gratitude to Cheryl Hurwitz and Jeff Weintraub and Michael Gottlieb, who once again have just been so generous with their beautiful gifts to our community and helping us to lift our prayers up in new ways. Just want to say a few words about the Torah reading for this week and share some learning together. We're going to be reading, as I mentioned, from Parashat Ekev. We are, of course, continuing to follow Moses's review of the journey from Egypt to the border of the Promised Land. Excuse me. In that review, it is as if Moses is now distilling the lessons from 40 years of wandering into direct and portable wisdom teachings for the community to retain as they continue their journey. Always wonder what it would be like for us. Maybe some of us have done this after some number of years, to sit down and say, well, what would I like to make sure to leave in terms of directions for the next generation? That's kind of what's going on here, except at certain intervals, Moses goes off on a tangent about his own experience, and this happened and that happened, but then he comes back to some incredibly deep and rich and lasting wisdom. Here we are still sitting here digging into these texts and finding answers to the questions of our lives. The whole book of Deuteronomy is kind of a traveler's guide to the Promised Land. What to take with you, what to leave behind, what to expect when you enter, how to behave when you get there. One of the things that Moses emphasizes in this week's passages, this is about the air conditioning. Is the lesson of hunger, and satedness. So I want to turn with you to the text. Excuse me. If you'd find your way, take your chumash. If you have the one that looks like this cover, we call that the new Plout chumash. And Steve, if you would hold up yours, that's the older one. We're looking for chapter 8, verse 3. And I can give you those page numbers. Excuse me. Chapter 8, verse 3, page 1270 in the newer Plout, and or 1387 in the older. 1230 in the newer. Am I wrong? I'm sorry, 1230 in the newer. 1387. So again, Moses is, okay, I'm going to need something to suck on. Does anyone have a cough drop? Yeah. Yes. Oh, these are my favorite. Thank you. Okay. I just want to, again, reassure everyone that I am healthy as an ox, as far as I know, and just, okay. Let's see how this does. Chapter 8, verse 3. Let's look at this in the Hebrew and then in the English together. Vaya'ancha vayarivecha vayachilcha et haman asher lo yadata. So Moses is explaining, remember, this is what happened. And on those parts of the journey when you were wandering, vaya'ancha, God made you suffer. God afflicted you. And then vayarivecha, I should say, God made you hungry. That was part of the experience. So that then, vaya'achilcha et haman, that you could be fed with manna, excuse me. Asher lo yadata velo yadaun avotecha. This manna that was not ever known to you before, you had the text, remember the text in Exodus? Goodness. They talk about missing watermelons and cucumbers and leeks and other yummy things that they knew as enslaved people in Egypt. But in the wandering years, all they have to eat is this manna. It was not known to you, and the text goes to extra lengths here to say it was also not known to your ancestors. So that theme of the relationship with the ancestors from Genesis, comes up over and over again. Lema'an hodiacha ki lo al halechem levado, in order to teach you, in order to make you know that it is not only by bread alone that human beings live, ki al kol motza pi Adonai yichyeh ha'adam. So first, let's deal with your hunger. And once we deal with your hunger, then we can start to build a relationship of covenant and commitment, which is the ultimate point. So first, God tests you to evaluate your commitment and to try to teach you, let's say, obedience. You have to learn to live off of something that neither your ancestors or you have ever known. You need to learn, you children of Israel, that while we humans always crave food, at some point we come to understand that we need more than food to nourish us. Oh, now there's like a sampler plate. This is the high test stuff. I have hot water. I'm not even, I feel great. It's just the, yeah. So I was reading this and thinking about my experience feeding my children when they were born. I didn't wait too long till they were hungry. But we know that as babies, the first way we learn that the world is a good and safe place for us is by the fact that when we cry out in hunger, hopefully we are fed. It's the way we first come to know about a relationship with love, with our parents, hopefully, who love us, and ultimately with a world that will take care of us. When that transaction happens, when the baby cries, please feed me, and finds out, oh, there will be a response, the baby begins to understand that she can trust in the loving beneficence of her parents or caregivers. And I began to wonder if this could be something like what was going on in the wilderness. Could the children of Israel learn that when they cry out, there will be an answer for them, that they can trust this God that is promising them not only a place to live, but an ongoing covenant. I wrote in parentheses here, obviously there's more to successful parenting than just food, but this is where the relationship is first established. Imagine the impact of the story of the manna for the first audiences who heard it so long ago. We know that ancient nomadic people didn't always survive for lack of nourishment. Before farming techniques were discovered and honed, starvation was always a possibility. And even then, acquiring food was a daily urgent task for survival. In our text, an ancient nomadic people is fed regularly and fully through no work or worry of their own. Could there be a more visceral, primal, concrete proof of God's commitment to the people? Nourishment and protection from hostile neighbors are promised again and again in the Torah. And with that foundation of the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs in place, food and safety, one can then turn to other aspects of our human journey. Not by bread alone, says the Torah, but by the word of God shall we manage to live. But first, we have to eat. So now I'd like to try to connect this little moment in the text with the part we're actually going to read today. find your way to chapter 10, verse 4. No, not chapter 10, 14. Thank you. And I'd like to read through a few verses here with you. So this will be on page 1237 in the newer version or 1405 in the older. Beginning with verse 14. Hein ladonai Elohecha hashamayim ushmei hashamayim haaretz v'chol asher ba. Now pay attention to all of this expanse of heaven, which is to say, pay attention to the relationship with heaven. Verse 15. Rak ba'avotecha chashak Adonai le'ahava otam. Only your ancestors were awakened God's love. Vayivchar b'zara macharehem bachem. And this goes into some of the language of chosenness, which we always struggle with or perhaps outright reject. And then verse 16. Umaltem et orlat levavchem ve'arpechem lo takshu od. Umaltem, circumcise the thick covering over your heart and make sure that your neck is not stiff or obdurate, resistant. 17, Ki Adonai Elohechem hu Elohei ha'Elohim va'Adonai ha'Adonim. God is the one true God, great and mighty. Excuse me. And now finally, verse 18. Oseh mishpat yatom va'almana, doing right by the most vulnerable in our society, loving the stranger, giving the stranger bread and clothing, that basic level of sustenance. Again, here, the text Moses invokes the ancestors, reminding the people that the covenant was made with them because of their merits, that we are the inheritors of their covenant and must now earn it for ourselves. And how do we do this? How do we earn that place in the covenant? The Torah famously says, cut away the thickening of your hearts, meaning work on your indifference, work on your diffidence, stay open-hearted. Don't shut down, even though the problems of the world, the problems of your life may overwhelm you, especially when you've been nourished. Don't forget about those who have not. God's mission is to tend to the most vulnerable in a society, the ones who have no one to provide for them, who have no legal rights, to make sure they at least have food and clothing, and that we are supposed to follow that example. It is so easy for us to forget, and I'm saying this as much to myself as anyone else here today. We who are blessed with plenty, whose food concerns are about whether to buy organic or regular, or to buy this brand or that brand, or which restaurant we feel like eating at tonight, or which farmers markets are the best, et cetera, to remember that unfathomably, many have nothing, have no access to even basic nourishment. We want to turn away. We don't want to look there because perhaps it reminds us of our own vulnerability. The text wisely says, we often will close off our hearts so that we can get through the day. But the Torah text telling us, work on that. So sorry. Work on that all the time. Stay open and responsive to these realities. Our religious traditions of all kinds have a variety of techniques for keeping our hearts open. It's certainly one of the main functions of our prayer practice. This week's Torah portion is the basis for the practice of saying grace after meals. What we call in Hebrew, Birkat Hamazon. We have in the text this week, Ve'achalta, ve'savata, uverachta. You shall eat, you shall be satisfied, and you shall bless. In fact, you may remember a rabbinic tradition, a rabbinic teaching that we learned from Rabbi David Teutsch when he was with us. I think it was not that long before the pandemic started, that said, if you're about to eat something and you don't say the blessing beforehand, of which there are many different varieties. There's one for bread, there's one for fruit from trees, there's one from fruit that grows on the ground, there's one for snacks, there's one for everything. If you don't remember to say that blessing before you eat, it's as if you've stolen the food. You've stolen it from God. In Jewish tradition, we have a whole menu of blessings to say before we take a bite. The best known, of course, is for bread. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And this one itself is provocative, of course, since God doesn't bring forth bread from the earth, but rather wheat, which is not edible, which we then turn into something edible. Unlike our Israelite ancestors who ate manna, we have to be in a partnership with that source of life. And then after we eat, we have a longer formula which reminds us to fulfill this aspiration. So if I start singing it, I bet some of you will remember what it sounds like. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hazan et haolam kulo betuvo bechen bechesed ubrachamim. This is the beginning of a long recitation, like some people know it, I see. Hazan et haolam kulo. God is the one we say in our blessing after the meal. God is the one that nourishes kol ha'olam kulo, the whole world, bechen ubechesed uberachamim, in mercy, in love, and in compassion. God gives bread to all flesh, lechem lechol basar, ki leolam chasdo, because God's love is everlasting, and it goes on and on from there. But the point is, as soon as we eat, we're meant to acknowledge that there's supposed to be enough for everyone. We're supposed to maintain a sense of gratitude, a sense of connection with that source of life every time we put something in their mouth. And so it has to be so ironic that I'm standing here eating cough drops while I talk to you. I don't know what the blessing is for a cough drop. I have to look that one up. I'm simply wanting to point out to us today that this very enigmatic, elusive phrase about circumcising our hearts, which obviously isn't meant to be a graphic physical ritual, obviously not, but meant to be a spiritual practice, how do we do it? How do we stay open? And the Torah is telling us one beginning way is start with, every time you eat, start with a blessing and end with a blessing. It could be that you start with the traditional formula, or it could be that you just take a breath and say, before I put this food in my mouth, let me just remember to be grateful for the source of this sustenance. And after that wonderful feeling, when we feel full, when we feel nourished, to also pause and say, I'm so grateful that I had this gift of sustenance. And let me remember my responsibility to partner with that source of life and help feed all of those who are hungry. Thanks for listening and for your patience. I feel that I again want to reassure the people that are coming to the Bima now for blessings. Not only will I have my mask on, but I'm really fine. Just a little gunked up, apparently. Let's go to our readings. Ask Ken Abner if you would come forward. So you're coming. There you are. We're going to have 3 Torah readings this morning, followed by the Haftarah, and we'll have more to say about each one of them as they come forward. Yes.
ויעזור ויגן וישיר לכל נפשים בו ונאמר
אמן.
נעבור לבוגד אלוהינו תנו כבוד לתורה יעמדו. Got a lot of people here. Liz and Bill Wanger and Lisa and Stephen Miller. Lisa Miller, Leah Bat Leib ואני פגל, ושמואל בן חיים יהודה וחנה אשיקה בת אברהם וחרולים. לעלייה הראשונה, ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו.
ואתם מדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום. And our first reader
is
Kate. Yes. We'll tell you just a second.
Okay. We are, it'll be chapter 10, verse 12. And there is no page number
I have
listed here.
page 1236 in the newer, or page 1398. It'll be 1399 actually in the older. Chapter 10, verse 12. So first they're gonna say the blessing. Close the scroll. And Liz, just hold on to the 8th seam. That's it.
Okay. Baruch Hu Adonai Hamorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher kirvanu levodato. V'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'ata Yisrael, ma Adonai Elohecha, shoel me'imach, ki im lir'ah, et Adonai Elohecha, lalechet b'chol dirachav, v'lahava oto, ve'la'avod, et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavecha, Ufol nafshecha, lishmor et mitzvot Adonai ve'et hukotav asher anohi mitzavecha hayom letov lach hein la'Adonai Elohecha hashamayim ushmei hashamayim haaretz ve'kol asher bach rach ba'avotecha hashach Adonai La'ahava otam, va'yivhar bizaram aharehem, bachem mikol ha'amim kayom hazeh.
Right when she finished.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher natan lanu Torah bemet. V'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yishar kolchech to Kate Corin, who is reading for the first time since her own bat mitzvah. And we hope that this will be the first of many more times. I just want to acknowledge Liz and Bill and Lisa and Stephen, who are up here as part of the run-up to their children's wedding coming up in just a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yep.
We're thrilled for you. Wonderful to meet you. And Mazal Tov to Liz and Bill, who are a longtime part of our community. And Bill, I couldn't help but think this morning as I walked in about the special role that you played in helping us to construct this home, which has continued to be a most special and important place for us. Well, Mazal Tov to all of you. Let me ask you to just come a little closer in here. And may I call them? Okay. We'll melt him. Here.
Let Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirvanu lavodato v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Umatem et urlat levavchem, v'orpachem lo takshu od, ki Adonai Elohechem, hu Elohei ha'Elohim, v'Adonai ha'Adonim, ha'el ha'gadol ha'gibor v'hanara, asher lo yisafanim, v'lo yikach shohad aseh mishpat yatom ve'amana v'yaher levatet lo lechem v'simlah v'yahatem et hager ki garim hetem be'eretz Mitzrayim.
Baruch Adonai, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Mazal Tov, can you all just stay for 1 minute? Just stay right here. Before you go away, let's just say, Yishar Kochech, beautiful reading. And, you know, all birthdays are special, but some are more special than others. So I'd like to say a Misha Berach for you, Shelley, and reaching a most special birthday and one that we wish comes with the blessing of at least another 50 years. And I'm going to ask you to right, do the math. Okay. I'm going to ask you to give me your Hebrew name this week. Okay?
Yep.
Misha Berach, Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, v'imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech et
Sarah
bat
Velva Bluma.
velva bebluma l'regel yom huladata, on the occasion of your birthday. Kashem she'necha ota kadosh baruch hu ad hayom. Ken yishmerea v'yichaya v'yashrea v'yosef la shenot chaim uvracha. V'yagilu va kol ohaveha v'yimlu kol mishalot liba. Letova benomar amen. To our dear Shelley, who has been our leader and continues to be right at the center of our community, may this birthday bring with it blessings of health and happiness and joy and protection from all harm and challenge. And when it does come, we're here with you as well. And let us say, Amen. Mazal tov.
Thank you.
Okay, now, I don't like having my back here. Will you come over here? Jonathan and Natalie, what a joy to have you here with all four of your parents to get ready for a most important step in your lives together. It has been such a pleasure for me to get to know you and to anticipate this upcoming wedding. For Natalie, who grew up in this community, and for Jonathan, who we've just gotten to know. Since you live right around the corner from me, I'm expecting that we're going to stay in touch. We have a gift for you, which is a book of Jewish wisdom by the great Rabbi Arthur Green, for you to have in your home.
Thank you.
And we want to say blessings for you on this Shabbat, in the lead up to your wedding day. Her name's here in front of me. I normally really like to hold hands during these blessings, but I'm going to be extra COVID safe since I think it's important to bubble wrap yourself as much as possible before you have a simcha. We wish for you not only a wedding day of beauty and joy, but a whole lifetime of good health and shared adventure together, to always be surrounded by your loved ones, by your siblings, sisters here? Yes. And your sister? And
Finished 24 hours, so.
so did you finish being on? We'll see
not
her at
here.
the wedding for
Yeah.
sure. So the Misha Berach, the blessing, is on page 689 in our Siddur. And I'll ask you all to please join me at the end. Excuse me. Misha Berach, Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, veLeah. Calling on the love that flowed to our ancestors. Yivarech et Yehuda ben Leah v'Shmuel v'et Menucha Yenda Badashka William asher bekarov yavo bibrit hanesuin, for Natalie and Jonathan, who are soon to be married. Yatmid Elohim ahavat gelulotehem, yivarchem v'yafrem v'nachat yiravem, v'hi veitam asher yivnu v'Yisrael. May the house you build together among the people of Israel and all the world, Mishkan ahava ve'emunah, neve shalom ukdasha, be a sanctuary of love and faithfulness, a place of peace and holiness. Bayit asher bo yigdalu banim ubanot. May it be a place where you are given the blessing of knowing parenthood. B'briut uve'osher be'ahavat Torah v'ma'asim tovim. In good health and happiness, with love of learning, and with always good deeds. And we say amen. Simen tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'simen tov. Simen tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov u'simen tov. Simen tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov. Mazal tov. Hugging me with my eyes.
Mutual.
You can all be seated.
Should we like?
You're welcome to take snacks. Okay, let's do it. Let's have a little bracha bee here. What is the blessing for a piece of candy? Somebody's saying it over here. Shahakol niyeh bidvaro. Baruch atah Adonai. You don't have one, but I'm holding one here for you for when you come up. We do. Okay. Let's pause before we go to our final reading for a prayer for healing. Yes, except we're going to say a prayer for healing now. So, all right. Excellent. Thank you. let's just pause now and bring to mind those in our circle of loved ones who are on their own healing journey. And I'll invite anyone in the room who wants to say a prayer for someone in particular to please stand at your own place. And I would really like to offer an opportunity to lift up the names of those people that are in our prayers. So I'll start here, Carol, with you, if you'd like to say. Bernardo. Please. Shelley. Natalie and John. Can say it in English. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor havracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor havracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Refuah shlema. Wishing a complete healing for all of those who are in our prayers.
For the Maftir Aliyah, we're going to skip ahead to chapter 11, verse 22. If you have what we've identified as the newer version of the Plav Chumash, that will be on page 1240. And I don't have the page number for the other one, but it's
1408.
1408. Ya'amor Chaim Gabriel ben Fadel Rachelea Aliyah Maftir.
Baruch Adonai Mavarach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mavarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirvanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ki im chamor tishmerun ekol mitzvah hazot asher achi mitzaveh echem la'asota la'ava Adonai Elohechem lalechet b'chol derachav u'ladaf kavo v'horish Adonai et kol ha'goyim ha'elimi lifnechem v'yishtem gedolim v'atzumim mikem kol ha'makom asher tidroch kav raglechem lo lachem yeh, min hamidbar v'halebanon, nahar prat, Ad hayam acharon yeh gvulchem, lo yatzev ish bifnechem, paktechem v'morachem, yitain Adonai Elohechem, al pnei kol haaretz asher tidchu va, kasher diber lachem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu haTorah.
Amen.
Oh, I have
Yum.
a- Sorry. Fine. Matt Wald and Marshall Mazer. Go ahead. Matt, you can
Yamdu, Hamagia, Yamot, Hagolel. As the Torah is lifted, please rise if you're able.
Torah, Torah tziva lanu Moshe.
Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah shekehilat Yaakov, Torah shekehilat Yaakov, Torah shekehilat Yaakov, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Please be seated. We're continuing now with the second Haftarah of Consolation. Can people hear okay? Yes, okay. We'll be on
1251.
1251, page 1251 in the newer plout, or 1599 in the older. Hearing words once again from the prophet Isaiah, specifically chosen to recognize the spiritual practice of going from Tisha B'Av, 10 days ago or so, to Rosh Hashanah, and encouraging us to move forward each week with greater hope, with greater faith.
I'm reading this Haftarah in memory of my parents, Ray and Philip Rosen, whose yortzeit, my mother's yortzeit was last Sunday, and my father's yortzeit is tomorrow. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nevim tovim v'ratza b'divrehem hanemarim bemet. Baruch atah Adonai abacher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'nevi'ei ha'emet b'tzedek. I'm reading chapter 49, 14 through 26, and then finishing chapter 51, skipping chapter 50. V'atomer Tzion azavani Adonai, v'Adonai shechechani, hatishkach isha ula, merachim ben bitna, gamele tishkachna, v'anochi lo eshkachech, hein al kapayim chakotich, Komotayach negdi tamid, miaru banayich, maharsayach, macharivayach, mimech yetzeu. Si saviv einayich, ui kulam nikbetzu vahulach. Hayani nu Adonai, ki kulam kadi tilbashi, tikarshim kakala, ki charbotayach, B'shom amotayich beretz harisutech ki ata תצרי מי יושב רחקו מבלייך, עוד יאמרו באוזנייך בני שיקולייך, צר לי המקום, גשר לי ואשבה. ואמרת בלבבך, מי ילד לי את אלה, ואני שכולה וגלמודה, גולה וסורה, ואלה מי גידל, הן אני נשארתי לבדי, אלא איפה הם? כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, הנה אשא אל גויים ידי, ואל עמים ערים ניסי, והביאו את בנייך בחוצן, ובנותיך על כתף תינשאנה, והיו מלכים אומנייך, ושרותיהם מניקותייך, אפיים ארץ ישכבו לך, ועפר רגלייך ילככו, וידעת כי אני אדוני, אשר לא יבושו כלבי. היו כך מגיבור מל כוח, ואם שבי צדיק ימלא, כי כה אמר אדוני, גם שבי גיבור יוקח, ומל כוח עריץ ימלט, ואל יריבך אנוכי אריב, ואל בנייך אנוכי אושיע. אכלתי את מונייך בבשרם, וכסיס דמם ישכרון, וידעו כל בשר, כי אני אדוני מושיעך, וגואלך אביר יעקב. שמעו אלי, רודפי צדק מבקשי אדוני, הביטו אל צור חוצבתם, ואל מרכבת בור נוכרתם. הביטו אל אברהם אביכם, ואל שרה תולו לכם, כי אחד קראתיו, ברכהו וארבהו, כי ניחם אדוני ציון, ניחם כל חרבותיה, ויעשה מדברה כעדן, וערבתה כגן אדוני, ששון ושמחה יימצא בה, תודה בכל זמרה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן האומר ועושה, מדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, דבר אחד מדבריך, אכל לא ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון כי בית חיינו, ולעמך ישראל תושיע במהרה בימינו, ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו באליהו הנביא עבדך, במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, וישיב לב אבות על בנים, ולב בנים על אבותם, ובית תפילה יקרא לכל העמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, מביא שלום לעד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל נביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. Thank you.
Wait, don't you want?
Oh, thank you. My
Baruch
pen.
atah Adonai,
Eloheinu
melech
malcham,
haolam, shehakol
kol
niyeh
niyeh
bidbaro. And of course, Zichronam Livracha for your parents who are remembered today in your beautiful chanting, Gil. Before we close the Torah service, this Shabbat is the day for announcing the new month of Elul. The Hebrew month that precedes the month of the holidays. So the custom is that all the other months of the year, all the other months of the Hebrew year, get an announcement like this, and then you begin the month and that's it. The high holy days get a whole month of preparation and announcement, which is the month of Elul. So I want to just invite a moment of quiet here before we say the words of the blessing aloud. As I've said many times, the blessing of the new month on Shabbat is the one place where the liturgy explicitly allows us, invites us to consider what petitions we need to make for our own lives. So the question for us today might be, what is it that we need to do to get ready this coming month for the month that follows? And I have to smile to myself because my little coughing fit this morning, which seems to have subsided now, reminds me that I have certain hydration practices that I like to do during the month of Elul to be ready for Tishrei. So whether they're regular concrete things that we need to remind ourselves about, or perhaps bigger questions in our lives, just a few seconds here to be quiet with ourselves and ask, what is it that we need for our preparations this month? And as you're ready, if you can take up your Siddur, your prayer book, and find your way to page 425, and it's a custom to all rise together for the prayer for the new month. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu shetechadesh aleinu et hachodesh hazeh letova ve'livracha ve'titen lanu chayim arukim chayim shel shalom Chaim shel tova, Chaim shel bracha, Chaim shel mazon ufarnasa, Chaim shel chilutz atzamot, Chaim sheyesh b'hem ahava v'yirat shamayim, Chaim she'en bahem busha uchlima, Chaim shel osher vechavod, Chaim sheyesh bahem yosher utvuna, ve'haskel v'dea, Chaim she'imalu mishalot libenu letova, Amen. Selah. 427. Mishasa nisim lavotenu leimotenu vegalotam me'avdut lecherut u'igalotanu bekarov v'ikabetz nidachenu me'arba kanfot haaretz Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, Chaverim kol Yisrael, ve'nomar Amen. Lai, 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 lai. Rosh Chodesh Elul yeh לטובה. יחדשהו הקדוש ברוך הוא עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל. Let the blessed Holy One renew this month for us and for all who dwell on earth. לחיים ולשלום, לששון ולשמחה, לישועה ולנחמה, ונאמר אמן. Ask us to remain standing for the return of the Sefer Torah. And I already don't have my notes in front of me. Ted and Isabel Berman, thank you, to come forward and return the Torah. And Cheryl, will you lead us page 433?
יהללו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו. הודו על ארץ ושמיים, וירם כרם לעמו. תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל עם קרובו. הללויה. Hallelujah. Page 441. ובנוכו יאמר שובה אדוני רבבות אלפי ישראל, כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם תורתי אל תעזובו. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה, ותומכיה מבושת דרכיה, דרכינועם וכל נתיבותיך שלום. הושיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Maybe it's that close. I mean, have a seat. We'll come to our closing prayers. We'll begin here with Kaddish Yatom. So first, I want to acknowledge, hopefully people saw it, it was announced in the community, Rabbi Sandy Rubenstein's mother, Lillian Cooper-Smith, has passed away. The funeral is in California on Monday, and Sandy will be back here in our area by Tuesday night. And there is Shiva planned, Zoom Shiva on Wednesday and Thursday evenings. So we'll be sending out, I think, a reminder about that to please take note and tune in as you're able. And, sending our condolences to Sandy and her extended family. Also to Mike Zusman on the loss of his grandmother, Clara Grossman, and to Matt Childs, whose grandmother, Claire Childs, just passed away just 2 days ago. I want to also acknowledge those who are observing a yort site this week. To begin, David Ehrenstein and Jerry Ehrenstein, remembering David's mother, Jerry's beloved wife, our most extraordinary friend and member, Deborah Ehrenstein. Bob Lubran's father, Walter Lubran, Gil Rosen's father, Philip Rosen, Bill Halpern's mother, Beatrice Halpern, Kim Bayard's mother, Florence Bayard, Wendy Kramer's mother, Ethel Kay, Patrick Lacefield's sister, Marcia Lacefield Williams, Michael Ostheimer's uncle, Ulrich Schweitzer, Jerry Kickinson's father, Harry Kickinson, Deborah Lesney's father, Erwin Schwartz, Harvey Fernbach's mother, Julia Fernbach, Barbara Berger's mother, May Prenner, Sandy Brody's father, Benjamin Kravitz, Carol Light's mother, Sarah Levy, John Peacock's father, Jack Peacock, Don Levinson's father, Tom Foti, Hal Siegel's grandfather, Hirsch Lev Schwam, Judy Greenwald's father, Paul Greenwald, Jeff Rubin's father, Robert Rubin, Michael Baer's father, Kurt Baer, Carol Levine's mother, Edith Kane, Clem Sugarman's father, Lee Sugarman, and Paul Zeitz's father, Mickey Zeitz. And let me just pause here and ask, are there any other people in the room today who are observing a yard site who would like to name the person they're remembering, please? Of blessed memory. Ask those who are in mourning or observing a yard site to please stand. We can find the words in our prayer book, page 451. I'll ask all of those who are standing to please say together, Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shmei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'b'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'bizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam u'lamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. Their memories are to stay with us and nourish us and inspire us. I'd like to ask you now to turn back to page 445. In just a moment, we'll rise once again to say Aleinu together. And before we do, I want to just share a melody for the closing of Aleinu that I really would like to sing with you this morning. This is on page 449, sorry to confuse you. Page 449, the very last line of the Aleinu prayer, which is in the quote from the prophet Zechariah, V'ne'emar, V'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad. This is Zechariah's prophetic vision of the unity of all creation on that day, Bayom hahu, that the divisiveness in our beliefs will come together and allow us to be together as a species. Thank you. So we normally sing V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai. Everybody knows that, right? So the words are familiar, but there's a different way to sing it. So like this. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Let's try that much again. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Shemo echad bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad so that's how it goes. So that was just a practice so that when we actually pray it, we can think about what we're supposed to think about, which is to envision a world that we can only envision in our prayers. But that's what our prayers are for, to help us aspire to something that we can't imagine in our everyday lives. So now, if you would please rise with me, page 445. Let's chant together. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shenatan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu not hashamayim v'yoser haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo begove meromim. Al ken mekaveh lecha Adonai Eloheinu, lihirot me'era b'tiferet uzecha, lehavir gilulim min haaretz, ואלילים קרות יקרתון, לתקן עולם במלכות שדי, וכל בני בשר יקראו בשמך, להפנות אליך כל אישי הארץ, יכירו וידעו כל יושבי תבל, כי לך תכרע כל ברך תשבע כל לשון. כי המלכות שלך היא לא מעט, תמלוך בכבוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא Please be seated. Do we have a board member here this morning who will greet us? Audrey Lyon, our Vice President for Lifelong Learning.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone here in the room and those of you on Zoom. A hearty mazel tov to Natalie and John and your families. And thank you for sharing a little bit of joy with us today as you get ready for your delightful wedding in a few weeks. I just want everyone to know, take it easy this weekend, because next weekend, particularly next Sunday, we've got a lot of things going on, 2 lovely events. The first, let me take this off so I can breathe. The first is here at Adat Shalom called Approaching the Jewish New Year for a wonderful morning of learning with Rabbi Avi Strasberg, who's a delightful and talented teacher with Hadar, who will be here in the community, along with 4 other congregants and Rabbi Rachel, I believe, or 3 other congregants and Rabbi Rachel doing workshops, getting us ready for the high holidays. Also, at the same time, if you have young children or know people with young children that are looking for a Jewish educational experience, come to the open house at Lauren and Matt Beal's home. The address is on the website and in some materials you'll be getting also from 10 to noon at their house. And Razi Epsteiner and Rabbi Fred will be there to share more about our education program. And of course, next Friday, September 2nd, will be our first Friday Kabbalat Shabbat here in the community. Please join us. It should be lovely. And everyone have a good Shabbos for the rest of the day today. And nice to see everyone.
Before we say goodbye for today, or Shabbat Shalom for today, I'd like to turn together to page 459. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, please join me and Cheryl and all of us together to say Kiddush before we go to our oneg this Shabbat. Please stand. Take your cup.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ונפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ונפש.
על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו.
סברי חברי
לחיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ בתיאבון. בתיאבון. Shabbat shalom everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Mazal tov. Thank you so much. Thank you. Nice to see you, Seth.
You know, when we did Kohen Neshama,
I know.
I'm not going to do any breakout rooms because I can't. But if anybody wants to unmute and say hi.
Unmute, hi.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Everybody, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can. Shabbat shalom.
I can see half your head too.
Half my head. That's the best half. I didn't know you could see anything. Wait a minute. Can you see me better now? I don't know. I
No,
can't see.
I see
All
it.
right.
Well, it's not that it's not that your video's not on. Your video's on. It's just that top of your head is off the screen.
Well, I don't know how to fix it. So you just have to suffer
Just
through.
the angle of the computer, yeah?
Right.
Okay.
You got to slouch.
Oh, slouch. Is that better?
Yeah, there we go. We can see you.
I would see everybody. I see you. Hello, boys. Everybody.
Except
knows-
for, we don't see Nirvana, and I don't know Nirvana. How are you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Steve, I feel like when you do that, I feel like I'm on a cruise ship.
I'll tell you, listening to the service today really made me feel very sad about Rachel leaving. I mean, she's so marvelous, and you know, I don't know what they're going
She
to
is,
do.
but she's still going to be a member of our congregation.
Yeah, that's not the point. The point is she's not going to be the cantor. That's
No,
for the rabbi.
That's
Of course,
true.
she'll be a member. But the anyway, it's does anybody know what the board is thinking of doing to replace her?
No. But Cheryl seems to be very active. I wonder whether she's going to be more involved.
Well, there doesn't seem to be a search committee as far as I know. I mean, when they put out the agenda for the board, there's never anything about Rachel leaving. So I don't understand exactly what they're planning, but anyway, replacing Rachel isn't possible. So we'll just have to figure out, you know, what else they
So,
would like to do.
Stan, you're going to take some, singing lessons and get
That would, I think the population or the membership of Adat Shalom would precipitously go down.
I suspect that with so much talent in the congregation, they'll be leveraging some of that musical and singing and laning talent to see how we proceed.
So Stan, you're in your new home, and Steve, you're on the vacation still, and
No, actually, I'm just on my back deck in my hammock.
You look wonderful, Steve, with the purple.
Hello. That's my
Steve, how did you manage to type comments in the chat in that position? Okay. They were right. Okay. Don't tell me where your fingers are. No. Okay.
Steve, how was that? You mentioned that you went scuba diving in the was it the U.S. Virgin Islands a few weeks ago?
Yes.
How
Well,
was
in
it?
May, the first 10 days of May.
Yeah.
Wow.
How'd it go?
It was great. St. Croix. In fact, if for anybody who's simply into snorkeling, it is there is a place on St. Croix which I'd say is world renowned for snorkeling. It's the pier in Friedrichstadt, which is encrusted. All the pylons of this very long pier are encrusted with the most beautiful collection of colors and growth and sea creatures and seahorses and eels and turtles and rays, as well as this beautiful coral of all different colors. Sandy and I did that, and I got to try out the new case that my kids bought me for Father's Day or for birthday, whatever, that would encase my new iPhone 13 Pro. So I got some very nice pictures from that.
Wow.
You could go underwater with your phone?
This case is designed, I mean, it's not cheap. It's Bluetooth connected to my iPhone 13, designed both for Android and for iPhones, and has its own leak detection. It says it's qualified down to 130 feet, which is beyond even my advanced rating. I don't think the problem with that is once you get below the first dozen or 20 feet or so, the lighting is such that you would need external lights. And I like to be in the moment. I don't want to get so distracted with photography that I don't enjoy it. So I did use it on a shallow dive at that pier, as well as when I was snorkeling with Sandy. But it's called Sport Diver, and it's quite a sophisticated case. Allowed me to access all the different features of my new phone. So
cool.
I'll have to look it up. I am having trouble visualizing it. You put your phone inside the case and it has a button for snapping pictures that connects.
Indeed. Yep.
Okay, Steve, in addition to the astronomic and the hollow pictures, you got to start putting up some scuba diving pictures in your background.
I'm sorry I missed that.
Why don't you use any of those pictures on your background?
Well, I will. Depends on. I will grab one right now. I just updated my Zoom software, so it knocked out all of my previous pictures. So I have to reestablish them. But it's pretty. I have it pretty quickly in my photo library.
I'm gonna miss your holla. I'll miss your holla.
It's not either or, John.
Yeah. Well, while I'm pulling that one up, I'll
There it is.
Thank God. The holla while I.
The holla lives.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'll have a piece of that.
So
sounds
make
great.
Make your mouth water.
Is that the 100-pound version or no?
I don't know. I just was looking for. I Googled images of hollas. So.
That's a great thing. I love it.
Well, yeah. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Yeah, Shabbat
now we're
shalom.
Wait. I know, Steve, are you putting up one of the pictures? Well, wait, if you're gonna put up one of those pictures.
No.
Yes, I am. What?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What's the consensus? Would you like to see a polka dotted ray or
I want to see the pier.
the
if you
pier.
can do-
Okay, hang on.
I don't
me
want to see
too.
it here. That's,
St. Croix, is that right?
St. Croix, yes, it's one of the, there's St. John, St. Thomas that are together, then St. Croix, which is a little bit further south. Okay.
I almost stepped on a polka dotted ray once in Jamaica.
Oh, don't
That'd
want
be
to,
bad.
do not.
I
want to-
thought it was someone's shirt in the water but when it swam away, I could see it was a ray.
you're lucky it swam away.
Yeah, it was in the very shallow surf. I was surprised it was that close to shore.
And let's see.
I got it yet.
I grabbed one. I'm going to grab a second one. Okay, here it is. And let's see. How is this? Mail.
In the meantime, we can look at Nirvana's clouds while we're waiting.
Hmm.
Thank you, Nirvana.
I like Eileen's tropical paradise.
Yes, my little tropical sanctuary,
Beautiful.
Hawaii, the Akaka Forest, I think.
I used to have a picture of the elephants in Africa behind me, but somehow I took it away.
Where is that in Hawaii?
You know, good question. We went so many places. We went to the Big Island. We did Honolulu. And we ended up at this Akaka Forest. I think that's the name of it. I'm not sure exactly where it was, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, Hawaii is fabulous. I've been all over Hawaii. I've been in every island except Malachi.
Okay.
So Steve, do you have so many pictures you're having trouble finding the pier?
No, I've got it. It's just the challenge. It seems like I'm out on the deck. I don't have the best reception on my Wi-Fi. So moving the picture into the folder where I can then